Welcome to this QuestTrack tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to discuss using QuestTrack's timeline. I already have a demo version of the QuestTrack software up and running, and you perhaps are familiar with this already. It has 4 vehicles displayed, and the 4 vehicles are a delivery vehicle, we're calling it delivery route on here. And then there's also unit number 2, which we'll call Rob, unit number 3 called Sam, and unit number 4 called Jill. As we discussed in the navigating tutorial, as you move the mouse across from left to right on the screen, you can see the 4 vehicles all move and in correct time with one another as well as they're going across the screen. So this is a very useful tool for watching your vehicles. Now, one other thing I want to point out here, one other thing I want to do is get us down to just one vehicle, so we don't have so much on the display to talk about. But now we have just the delivery vehicle on the map. Now what we're going to be talking about on this tutorial is the timeline at the bottom. Notice that the timeline starts at 3 a.m. and ends at 3 a.m. That's by choice. You can make a start at midnight, but 3 a.m. is a good time because it's after people go to bed and before people get up in the morning. So usually you get a full day by going from 3 a.m. to 3 a.m. This particular 3 a.m. is from on Tuesday, September 13th to Wednesday, September 14th. But with the demo, every day is the same. With the same data is being pulled up, but in your real display, you're going to get different data for every day, of course. Now, down on your timeline, as you mouse over the timeline, you'll see that it says unit number 1, delivery route, and it also gives the 12-digit character, the 12-digit unique code for this particular unit, which is 1. Your unit will have a much more complicated number that you install so that other people cannot find your unit by chance. Okay, now we can see on the timeline that this particular delivery vehicle starts out at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and as we move the mouse across, it drives to one location on the west side of town, then drives back to the east side of town, goes north, and starts making its delivery stops. Now, just as an aside, notice that the starting point is a green and the ending point is a red. In this particular case, the green is almost totally overshadowed by the red because the starting and ending points are the same. But typically, you can see both. Also, notice the blue hexagons throughout the route. Those are places where this particular vehicle encountered a hotspot and was able to download some of its GPS fixes as it's going through its route. Now, this may or may not occur in your situation. You may want to restrict your vehicle to only storing at your Wi-Fi hotspot back at your home base, or and this especially is as local laws permit as well. Your local laws may or may not permit you to use publicly available Wi-Fi hotspots. But in this case, as the vehicle is traveling along, you can see every spot, just every few seconds, a fix is made, and the red line that you see is actually a compression of a lot of little red pluses, and when they're so close together, it makes a big red line. But actually, as you can see here, a little bit as is driving along on a highway, occasionally you can see some spots where the red is not solid because it's really red pluses. Now, let's say you want to find out where this vehicle is at a particular time. I'm going to move the mouse down onto the timeline and want to first point out that the red indicates where the vehicle is in motion. The places where it's not red indicates the places where the vehicle is parked or stopped. So you can determine when this vehicle has made its stops by looking for those non-red points. Now, this is helpful if you're, say, tracking say you have your teenage son and you want to make sure that he's going in the right places. You can just look at the places where the red is not there, and you can determine the places where the vehicle stopped and where time was spent, and even how much time was spent. So let's say we want to look at one of these stopping points. I'm going to arbitrarily pick this one right here, where the mouse is, and I'm going to click my mouse down and drag across one of those intervals, those non-red intervals. And when I do, and I let up the mouse on the other side, now the map is going to reload, and it's going to just display the points that are indicated by that time interval. So you see that there are red points on the timeline on the left, and there's red points on the timeline on the right, but in between is a big point, a big area where there are no points. That's the time while the vehicle was sitting and not moving. In this particular case, now we can move along until we get to where that is occurring, and you can see that it happened up here on the map. It says Broadheadsville. So there was a stop right there. You can click even closer in. I can go in and just pick up a few points on one end and drag it over and pick up just a couple points on the other end, and it will zoom in and pick up just the points that are in that location. So now down the bottom, notice that there was a Highway 209. The vehicle had come off of that Highway 209 and was going up to a location just for that time period. Once again, on the left of the timeline there are some red marks, and on the right side there are some red marks, but in between is a big interval. Now, if you want to see what's going on at this time, you can go to Street View and look at what's happening. I'm not going to do it on this one because there is a whole tutorial that talks about using the Street View feature. But this allows you to look around and see what's going on at the place where the vehicle stopped. Now let's go back. I'm going to click the X, push the X button to go back to a full day display. If you don't remember what the X button is, just go to the table, and I see how I put my mouse over the TBL for table, and go down to the X, return to current day 24-hour display. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to push the X key, and it will update and go back to all 2,377 times that were recorded during this day. But that's about it. Those are the things I wanted to tell you about the timeline. So thank you for your consideration of QuestTrack.